She's moving so much. Can I help you, ma'am? I've been abandoned. Hi guys, welcome to the Bunny Bites channel where I'm doing my first rendition of what I'm making. Today we're going to be making an Adam keychain from Hazbin Hotel. I had a video on TikTok that went a little bit viral. I'm very excited to be bringing it to YouTube for you all to see in like a full-length tutorial. You can stick around this channel. You can mostly expect crafting videos, fun little how-tos. This series is basically just going to be whatever I want. There's no through line. I just make what I want to make. It's a great business practice. Make sure to check out my Etsy after this video drops. I will have a handful more of these items up. Please tag me on Instagram. I'd love to see all of your creations if anyone ends up making this. It's a little bit of an intermediate, I'd say, process. Just try. You know, I try and fail every day, and that's just how life is. Today we're making Adam keychains.
Here are the supplies that we'll be using today. These are just the brands that I like, but you can definitely sub out for whatever you have on hand.
So first things first, I like to lint roll my surface. Sometimes I also use alcohol wipes on it just to make sure that I have all of the icky stuff on it. Alrighty, then we're gonna go ahead and take our clay and we're just gonna pinch off a little bit. I usually make them about like an inch, inch and a half. So you really don't need that much for this project. I'm gonna go ahead and roll it out, work it out a little bit. Oop, it's rolling away. It's already trying to escape me. I'm really quick going to go wash my hands so that I can work with my white. So, we're gonna start with the body, and then we're gonna move on to the head. So to start, our clay is nice and conditioned, and then it's super easy. I just make him a little bit of a cylinder. It's nice and chunky. And then I'm gonna take my classic metal tips, make a little indent. And we're just gonna roll him out a little bit more. And then I always have to remind myself, I do 5 points. A little bit of an indent. 3, 4. I can't count. There's a reason I'm an artist and not an accountant. And then you're just gonna take each end and you're just gonna pinch it out. Pinch, 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 pinch. You're like your little crab. Alright, yeah, he's kind of tall compared to our other guy. But if we want to, we could just chop his head off later. I have little fingerprints on mine. You can go ahead. I keep 100, or not 100%. I don't think they sell 100%, but 99% isopropyl alcohol. To get all of these little bits out. I'll probably just give him a coat of white paint so that he's not so icky looking. There you go, so that's the bottom. So you can also put him, sometimes I'm fancy and I stick him on my little ball point to make it easier. Then you just press in the top, doing a little dance. And then again, we're gonna go ahead and just roll that out. His little collar. Anyways, there we go. Again, this one's gonna be a little bit bigger than the ones that I typically have on my Etsy, but you can scale this as large as I guess you would want to if you just want a massive man. And then that's pretty much the body shape. I like to go through and make collar lines, I guess is the term for it. Ooh. So I'm just gonna make two of those little indents. So we're gonna set that aside for now, and then we're going to move on to doing his head. We're gonna go ahead and take our black clay. This might be too much for this body. Yeah, he'd have a massive noggin if that was the case. So I'm gonna go ahead and pinch some of this off and set it aside. Start with the sphere. Let's see, to make sure it's the right size. Take a little bit more so we can have longer horns. Sphere time. Woo! All right, so you can go ahead with the orb. You're gonna make like a little butt. And then you're gonna go ahead and pinch out those horns. So he looks kind of like a little kitty cat. Meow, meow, meow. So we're just gonna pull those out, and then you can make them as long or as short as you want, and then we just bend them over. But there's his little head shape. Let's see, in proportion to our body.
It's time to put on your Real D 3D glasses.
Whoop. That fits in pretty good. Go ahead and set that to the side, and we're gonna go ahead and put on his facial features. So I'm just gonna pinch off. You really don't need like any clay. Probably gonna take probably that much. Roll it out super duper small. You wanna make sure you keep even tension on each pieces or you're gonna have pieces breaking off. You can insert really cool music right here. Perfect. So that little bit of clay is gonna be rolled out this thin. Then I'm gonna cut off. I like to do the thinnest piece I can find. I'm gonna cut that much off. Ooh, don't stick. There. Ooh, I'm gonna set that aside for our mouth. And then I'm gonna cut off these two little pieces. Kind of uneven. Okay. Okay. I know what I'm doing, I promise. So we're just gonna roll these into two little balls. Very exciting. It's like a bad triangle, I guess is what you would call that. Like an incorrect triangle. Look at him. That eyeball is way too, we're gonna put them closer together. There we go. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and take tools, a little bit smaller one, and we're just gonna dab that in, kind of push it around till it's as big as we want. The eyes might seem a little big at first, but we're gonna be putting eyebrows on him. So make sure that you have enough clay so that when you cover it, his eyes don't just like completely vanish. All right. Speaking of those brows, we're gonna do that before we do the mouth because the mouth is so itty bitty. So itty little bitty mouth. Ah! Okay, let me just destroy everything. Anyways, so we have our two little itty bitty things, and I think those will be a good size for him. And we're just gonna, you know, roll them into ovals and then roll them out, and we're just gonna press them into that. He looks angry. He's always angry. And we're gonna go back in with a round pointed tool. Just smooth those out. Use a little bit of the bigger side. I like to press that down and then go in and kind of arch them a little bit more. I like how sassy it makes him look. There you go. So that's his angry little face so far. Wow. I like to use the silicone tool for this because it tends to pick up the clay a little bit better. You just take your tool and then you're just gonna press it. I like to put it pretty close to his little eyeballs because I see, like, you can keep him really angry if you'd like. That's a really nice little angry look. And we're just gonna slowly guide them up. I think that's a pretty good little smiley for him. So the last step for his face, for clay, we're gonna pinch off a little bit more. And we're gonna separate that out into two different balls, pinch off the ends. I like to then kind of flatten them a little bit. And then we're just gonna stick that on the back of his little horn. That little golden piece. And I think those look pretty cute. He's looking, ah! Oh God! He's looking pretty good. So we're gonna set him aside. And we just roll this out, pretty much as thin as we can get it. That part off. Set that aside in case we need it. Pick it up. Thank you. And where I made those little indents earlier, I'm just gonna be able to lay my clay in there. Feel free to skip this step if you'd rather just paint it later on. Alrighty. And now, let's go ahead and pop these in the oven and bake them so that they get a little bit hard so that I don't destroy his smug little face throughout the next steps. So I will be right back. Come in. A lot of people are good about, you know, preheating the oven, but I like to live dangerously and take my chances. 275, 15 minutes. We'll come back in 15 minutes and see how he's doing. Anyways, now, while our man is baking, we are gonna go ahead and mix together our purple part. It's the diazine dioxyninon. Take a little dab. That might even be way too much. Take a little bit less. For anyone that tells you can't put things back in bottles, they're wrong. I do it all the time. I probably shouldn't, but I do it all the time. Dab. That was too much. Okay, so that's more of the color that I want on this side. So I'm gonna go ahead and check on him in the oven.
A few moments later.
Since my body looks kind of nasty, I'm just gonna give it a really quick white coat. Now that we have our white coat on, it looks a little bit more less horrible. For this, I like to use a mix of round and flat brushes. I just follow the curve of his toga dress thing, gown. I guess it's one of those like church with choir gowns. It's a choir gown. That's absolutely what it is. Painting is always the longest part of my process. And you don't want to go too high on this or else you won't have enough space for his other details. So that's pretty good for that. And then really quick, I'm just gonna go ahead and paint in this bottom. Incredible. So now that we have that done, we're gonna stand him on his head for a second and we're gonna paint on his little cowl. Again, you can stick with the same size brush. I usually do the 2 big horns with the larger round brush and then go in with the smaller one. Make those peaks. But yeah, his little point looks pretty solid. So we're gonna set him down. Show him to the guy. You're acting like I'm not showing them this part of what I'm doing. This little side is higher than that side, so that's where his head's gonna go. We're gonna make this our front. We're gonna go ahead and paint his little symbol on there. Adam.
Call me Dickmaster.
All right, cool, look at that. They're technically diamonds, but I am not painting a bunch of small little diamonds. That is simply not something that I want to do with my time. And he's squished, so like, he doesn't deserve diamonds. Diamonds are a girl's best friend, and he's not a girly. Okay, now we're gonna go in and do our little lines. Yay! While this dries completely, we're gonna go ahead and make wings and the arms, because I like to attach them at this stage because it prevents me from squishing it overall. Let's do the wings first because they're a little bit easier. You don't need as much as you think you do. I'm gonna roll it out on one side so that it kind of looks, I don't know, what is that? Something I can't say. Carrot. And then we're just gonna take it and we're gonna roll it up. Kind of looks like a seashell. And then I just flatten it. And then if you want to be fancy dancy, which I usually am fancy dancy, indent a little bit for his little feathers. I'm gonna do that on both the front and the back. Okay, so now that his wings are done, we're gonna set those aside. For his arms, take, again, 2 little spheres. 2 little spheres. And we're gonna roll them out. We're gonna make them into that sleeve shape, kind of like a Dorito. We'll make our little hand indent. So we're gonna do that side as well. All right, then you just peel those off. Fun thing about acrylic paint and Sculpey is that you can paint it and then still fire it fine. Take a little bit and we're just gonna paint that sleeve to the other one. And while we leave those to dry, we can go ahead and attach our other elements. Exciting. And here we get to use one of my favorite Sculpey products, which is Sculpey Bacon Bond. This one is from like, I think I got this when I was like 15, which was a long time ago. It still works great. It works great. I love her. So it's basically like a glue for clay. Take my little round guy. We're going to go ahead, put that in there. And we're just gonna stick our head. We're gonna nestle it right in there. All right, so then for the wings, we're just gonna take a little bit on the back. We're just gonna press it in there. Awesome. And sometimes you'll have this happen where the wing will kind of want to fall over. So I recommend when you bake it, baking it like that, so that if it does fall over, it doesn't really matter. The raw, unfiltered mess of what it takes to make anything. Every day is a waking nightmare. Just gonna take this. For our hands, we're just gonna take the smallest little bit of black clay. We're just gonna squish it right there. Put it in there. And if you're like me, you can make some tiny little hands. I love tiny little hands. Cute. Here's him at the moment. We're gonna go ahead and, before I continue to put white paint all over him, we're gonna fire him. Bacon Bond takes 30 minutes at the same temperature to fully adhere, although honestly, sometimes I just do it for 15 minutes because I'm impatient and lazy. But either way, it'll be good. I'm gonna lay him down so the wings stay in place. Well, now that he's taken a trip through the oven, he's out. He's nice and rock solid. I went ahead and touched him up a little bit off screen because I transferred a little bit of white paint all over his body, but now he's looking nice and shiny. I like to paint his little wings gold. Sparkly, shiny. I love this paint. It's the Folk Art Treasure Gold. It's one of the best, in my opinion, gold paints that the craft level that you can buy that's not gonna like absolutely break your bank. I like to put a little bit on his little tippy tips. Now he's nice and sparkly. Then we're gonna go ahead and do his halo. Definitely want a stronger gauge because it's gonna be able to keep up with the flinging around of what keychains do. So I work right off of the spool. I have my jewelry pliers that you can get and just put it at the thickest part of my base and wrap it around. Beautiful. You're gonna have a cute little halo shape. My other needle nose pliers, pinch it right there and just clamp it so that I have a little halo. Leave that open for now because I'm gonna put my keychain there. I'm gonna go ahead, let's snip this. You don't have to leave yourself too much, but I like to leave enough so I can easily shove it into his skull. All right. This is the point, if you'd like, you can go ahead and attach the keychain. I use these, they're pretty hardy. You just pop that off. And I take this little part, hook that into my halo. And with my pliers, just pinch that. All right. So now it's a closed loop and it's not going anywhere. So if you want to be extra fancy, you can use a little bit of glue to just, and be careful with this because it will absolutely stick to your fingers. That, a little bit. And we're just gonna leave that right there for a minute or so, and that's gonna make sure that stays right there. I use just a little hand drill. It's this one. I don't actually really recommend this one. Again, I got it for a very low price, so it's whatever, but I would very much suggest like investing more so in like a Dremel. You want to figure out how big you want your wire like this. It's a very scientific way to measure it. That looks right back in there. All right, so now we're gonna give him a lobotomy. Love it. You're gonna, at the base of his skull, pretty much. I like to go right between here because when you go ahead and glaze it, it gives it a little more strength. You don't want the halo to sit too far back or too far forward on his head. And as you can see, my drill is kind of struggling. Whoop, there we go. The white is from his body, so you know you got a good hole going on. I'm gonna use my super glue. Oops, let me drop it first. Polymer clay is difficult because there aren't a lot of glues that actually will hold it, like will allow you to attach it like together. What I like to do is then just tilt this up a little bit more, get a little bit more of that floating halo effect. Make him extra cute. Really quick. Yay. Alright, now it's golden. Super cute. We're gonna let that dry for a second and then we're going to move on to our final step, and that's going to be glazing him. But so far he's looking pretty good. And I will move over to my resin setup.
First things first, we're gonna put on some proper PPE. From here, I'm gonna use some sticky putty to attach Adam onto this stick to make it easier to glaze him. Now we're gonna pour some resin on that. Most people recommend layers because it takes much less time to cure the thinner the layers are. Next, he's gonna go into my UV box. I like to give it like 10 minutes just to be safe, but it's really gonna depend on the brand and like how humid your area is.
He's dying. He's facing the wrong direction because he doesn't talk to the losers.
And there you have it, an add-on for your pocket, keychain, or any questionable area of your life. Thanks so much for tuning in this week on the channel that I have. It's not fake, it's real. It's happening. Thanks so much for tuning in this week on what I'm making. If y'all ended up following along, be sure to tag me on Instagram or any other social media. I have the same name pretty much across everything. And if y'all have any suggestions, I'd love to hear it in the comments. I hope y'all have a great night, and I'll catch you on the flip side.